Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Cooking with Chef Spidey. Make sure that you like and subscribe on our YouTube page. Hit that notification bell to receive all of the new videos that we do. We're going to try to do these every day still. So this is my stepdaughter, the lovely Mia. Say hi to everybody. So a couple things we're going to do today. It's a cold, chilly day out, so I figured let's do some chili. So I got a great amount of recipes that I've kind of broken down to what I want to see in my chili. I know that you like chili. You also like cornbread. So we're going to do some nice homemade cornbread in our little mini loaves. And while we're doing that first, we're going to do what you wanted to do and what everybody on TikTok is doing right now is this foam whipped coffee, right? Is that what it's called? Whipped coffee? Okay, so the first things first is we're going to grab the 2 cups, right? And Mia, if you want to do, you can pour the milk into the cup where you want to put it there. And while you're doing that, I'll discuss what ingredients are involved. So we have a instant espresso coffee, and we have some granulated white sugar, super simple, 2 tablespoons of coffee, instant coffee, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of hot boiling water. How does that look? Pretty good? Good. So now we're going to come over to the stove where our water is boiling. We're going to put our 2 tablespoons, all equal parts, right? A little bit short there. Here we go. 2 tablespoons of boiling water. Mia, do you want to do that? Pour that in. Perfect. We got ourselves a nice hand mixer here. And we're just going to mix this up. Now on TikTok it says to use a whisk, and it says how long that you have to beat it for.
30 minutes.
30 minutes? Technology, kid. Technology. All we're doing is we're just mixing the coffee bean, or the instant coffee, and the sugar, and the boiling water into foam, right? This should only take a few minutes.
Who spends 30 minutes on that? I don't know who spends it. Well,
what we did find is that by making this drink a little bit too small, it didn't give us enough surface area to work with so that we couldn't get a foam. So what we ended up doing was doubling it. So we put 4 tablespoons of espresso coffee, 4 tablespoons of sugar, and 4 tablespoons of boiling hot water. And it did come out really nice and foamy. So now that this is done, Mia, how about you take this foam and you take the spatula, and I'll put this in the sink. And you start pouring over the top. How do you think is that good enough?
Like a little bit more.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'm going to add a little bit of extra to mine. Okay.
That looks pretty good.
All right.
This is so extra.
All right. I'm going to add just a little bit of chocolate syrup to mine. Do you want any?
No, thank you.
No? Okay. So let's grab a spoon. It says to take and mix it around a little bit. Ooh, this looks pretty good. It's like a nice homemade iced cappuccino, huh?
Like Starbucks.
Ready? Cheers. Let's try it. Oh, that's delicious. Good job.
Really good.
All right. Wow. Wow. I enjoy that. We'll be right back, and we'll come and start working on the cornbread. Okay, now that we're back, these coffees were absolutely delicious. We're going to make ourselves some cornbread. All right. In the description down below, I'm going to put all the ingredients that we need, but we'll talk about them real quick. We have 2 cups of milk, 2 cups of cornmeal, 2 cups all-purpose flour. We have 4 tablespoons of melted butter, along with a half a cup of honey, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. Very simple products. When you're mixing things with liquids and dries, all you got to do is just make sure that you have 2 separate bowls. So the liquids are going to go into this bowl where the eggs are. The dries are going to go into here. So Mia, if you want to pour in the cornmeal, the powder, the baking powder, and the sugar, you can put all those together. While you're doing that, I'm going to crack these eggs. I'm going to put the shells right in here. Okay. 4 eggs. So we have that done. We have the other liquids here, 2 cups of milk. Alright. We have the melted butter and melted honey together. And Mia, you have the 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. Alright. Then all we do is just mix this in until all the eggs are lightly beaten. And then the only other step to this is putting the liquids into the dry, mixing them up, putting them into the pan, throwing them in the oven. Now would probably a good time to remind people, what do I like to say every time? Wash your hands. This is what we do. We wash our hands before, we wash our hands during. Any time that we have a chance for cross-contamination, we wash our... Okay, cool. This is almost done. All right, perfect. Now we're going to take the dries and the wets, mix them together. Mia, hold on to that. Mix that up a little bit for me here, just so that we get a little bit of the flours and dry ingredients to mix together. Okay, and then try and like make a little spot and leave like a little spot in the middle there. Okay, I'm going to pour in about half of this. All right, and then you're going to mix that all up together. Slow at first to get it all together. Once that starts coming together, we'll add the rest of the liquid. There we go. Adding that slowly in there. Perfect. Okay, just keep mixing that.
Make sure you rub the sides because that's where flour
Rub the
and
sides.
stuff.
Scraping the sides with the spatula, right? All right, scraping
So
the
all the
sides.
dry ingredients get mixed in.
Yeah, want to get a good mix on those.
You don't rub the sides. You want to get the full
I
massage.
said scrape.
You said rub.
No, I didn't.
Well, I guess the viewers will know because you said rub.
Comment down below what I said.
Now that we have the cornbread mixed up, I'm just going to take a little bit and lightly grease our pan. This is a canola oil. Okay, lightly greased. Mia, how about you just take that half a cup and then just start filling them up. And we want to fill them up about 3/4 of the way. Okay, just a little bit more on that one. Perfect. There we go. And then move on to the next one. Now that we have the cornbread mixed up, I'm just going to take a little bit and lightly grease our pan. This is a canola oil. Okay, lightly greased. Mia, how about you just take that half a cup and then just start filling them up. And we want to fill them up about 3/4 of the way. Okay, just a little bit more on that one. Perfect. There we go, and then move on to the next one. We have all of them ready to go. The oven's set at 425. We're going to put this in the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes. Make sure you use a middle of the row on your oven. You don't want it to be too low because it'll burn the bottom. You don't want it to be too high. because then it'll burn the top of them too. So put them right in the middle of your oven, and we'll see in about 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. Let's see how they look. Wow. There's the first batch of cornbread, mini cornbread loaves. We have enough ingredients to probably do just a little bit more than half of that too. So we're going to let these cool, put them out onto a cooling rack, and then we'll put the rest of the ingredients in there, and we'll get another set into the oven. And we'll be back to show you the final results. And welcome back to Chef Spidey. The next part in our dinner tonight is homemade chili. So what we have here is a bunch of different seasonings. We have some diced tomatoes, 2 pounds of ground beef. We have kidney beans, white beans. Now, depending on how you want your chili, you can do a bunch of different types of beans. There's black beans, there's white beans, there's pinto beans. It's really up to you on how you like your chili. I prefer the butter beans, so I like the white ones. Going through the seasonings, we have oregano, some crushed red pepper, minced garlic, chili powder, paprika, and cumin. It's a very simple recipe that we're going to do. Everything's going to be in the crock pot today. So all we have to do is take this medium onion, and I'm going to show Mia how to dice an onion. Cut off that end, all right? Cut off the other end. Okay, so we're going to clean the onion down the middle, all right? I know I've taught this in a few videos already. Dicing up an onion is a very simple thing to do if you know how to do it from beginning to end. Here's our clean pieces. Love having a garbage can right here by my cutting board. Just makes things a lot easier. Okay, onion, knife down, going through. Remember to keep that piece together at the end, keep the core intact. And then come through, cut once, then come through the bottom, or almost to the bottom. Come through again and cut there, making sure that knife gets almost to the end of the core, okay? And then just let your knife fall through. Once it gets to the end there and you're not really too comfortable with it, just take these edges, chop them down. That way you're not wasting too much product at the end. There's the first half. Show you again. Knife down, cut lines. You know, just make sure your hands are comfortable in the spot that, you know, you feel comfortable with it. Come through one. Try to keep that onion together as you're coming through. Just watch your fingers, all right? And then have that knife come through and finish that off. All right, now those onions are done. All we have to do now is get our 2 pounds of ground beef that we have here into a nice hot skillet. As you can see, got a little bit of a smoke on there, nice and hot. Put some olive oil in. Just get that ground beef into chunks. Hear that sear. We're going to cook this ground beef down, just get a little bit of brown on it. There's that nice browning flavor is going to go back into our chili. And we'll be back when this is done. Okay, so we are going to add what your papa, my father-in-law, likes to call pinch. It's 2 parts salt and 2 parts pepper and 1 part garlic powder. This is the Italian pinch. Every kitchen should have a little bit of this. Just take some of that, mix it over the top.
I love pinch.
That's right. Salt and pepper and garlic right into your meat. And as this continues to cook, you just got to keep stirring it, making sure that you're mixing all that great seasoning and flavor in. Just get it, again, get it to the point where the meat is nice and brown. And then we'll add this right into our crock pot with our other ingredients. And we'll be back to show you how to do that. Okay, now that the ground beef has completely browned up the way we want it, I'm going to turn this heat off. I'm going to bring this over to the crock pot and start putting everything together. Be very careful whenever using a cast iron pan. The handles do get very hot on these. Okay. I want to say a shout out to Andrew Ellers for asking how to make chili. It got you, buddy. This is what we're doing. Okay. Come on over to our crock pot. I'm going to pour all that nice ground beef into the crock pot. And Mia, while I'm putting this in the sink, let's start putting all of the ingredients together, okay?
Put in the beans.
I'm gonna start with the beans.
All right. Those are the white butter beans
Now the kidney.
and the kidney beans. Make sure you rinse your kidney beans out before you put them in there. And then the diced tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
Okay. And then each one of the seasonings. We got crushed red pepper. We have 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. 1.5 tablespoons or teaspoons of oregano. 3 tablespoons chili powder. 1.5 tablespoons of cayenne or paprika. And 1.5 tablespoons of cumin. All right. Then we need to put the onions in. Stirred everything up. We're going to add our 2.5 cups of beef stock or beef broth to that. And then a little bit more Italian pinch to the top for seasoning. And we can either do this in 2 ways. We can do this 8 hours on low, or we can do 4 hours on high and 2 hours on low. It really just depends on the consistency that you like. Please make sure that you're constantly checking on your product throughout the day, and we will see you as the chili starts to develop. Hey folks, Chef Spidey. New gear just came in today. Super excited. We're in the middle of making this chili. So I just want to talk to them a little bit about what you can do in the middle of cooking chili, because it's such a slow process that you kind of get this great ideas of being able to taste things throughout the cooking process. You can kind of adjust fire. So that's kind of what we did in the house today. The family has been tasting this. If you want to get closer here, you can kind of take a look and see. We decided that it needed a little bit more consistency. So the original recipe that I start with is always a good starting point, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's where your end product has to be. So about 2 hours into this, I decided with the family that we're gonna put some carrots in it. So I cut up some carrots, coin style type of cut. And we also added a little bit of brown sugar and a little bit of tomato paste, actually about a small can of tomato paste, because we're looking for a different consistency. So I think the great thing about any type of cooking process is that you have this beginning idea of how you want things to start, but throughout the process things change. So it's cool that we have the ability to do this. We're all stuck at home. Hashtag stay home, everybody. Wash your hands. It's awesome to be able to do something like this and kind of appreciate the whole process from beginning to end. So now that we're about halfway through, the family also said that they wanted to do mashed potatoes for dinner, to add a little starch to the side. So I did get some potatoes from the store, and everybody has a mashed potato recipe. I personally like to do things quite simple. First, I like to start off by cutting the sides off of the potatoes, and then we're going to come through and we're going to just, go through and peel those skins back. Now, it's okay if you end up having a little bit of skin on them. They will kind of break down. It gives a little bit more texture to it. I'm not a fan of the creamy style mashed potatoes that just don't really have any bite to them. My favorite kinds really are smashed potatoes, but for this purpose, we're going to kind of just show you how each one of these, it's a lot easier if you just have that starting point on the top and the starting point on the bottom. And then we'll cut these into pieces and we'll throw them into some cold water. We don't need to kind of go through every single potato and how I cut them up into equal pieces. So we'll get everything ready to go. Again, don't start your water though with your mashed potatoes. Don't start them until you have all the potatoes in there. You always want to start with a cold water. So once those are all cut up, we'll put them in there. I'll turn the water on and we'll bring them up to a boil, and then we'll come back and talk about what the consistency of a potato should look like before you decide to put it into the blender. Okay? See you soon. Okay, I think it's been about 10 minutes. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna grab one of the bigger potatoes in here. You know, try and find like one of your bigger pieces. Okay? Bring it over to the cutting board. And you just wanna make sure that the potatoes are fork tender. So when you go to put the fork in, you don't have a lot of resistance, and a lot of times it'll start breaking apart. That's how you know your potatoes are done. We're gonna strain them off, get them right back into the blender. We'll add some cream and some butter to them and some salt and pepper pinch, and we'll be good to go for our mashed potatoes. Okay, so we've got our hot potatoes into our mixer. We're gonna push that down. The only two things that we're going to need for this are butter and cream, and then of course some pinch. You always want to start out real slow. While that's going, I'll go over and grab the cream. And we're going to just, add a little bit at a time. Should be good for now. It's about a 1/4 cup. And then I like to do about a stick of butter for this amount of potatoes. Yes, my family likes the buttery potatoes. Okay. Add ourselves in some Italian pinch. And you get to the point where you can start turning up the speed, turn it up for a little bit. And you always want to make sure that you have a spatula ready, because you're going to want to scrape those walls down a couple times to get some of the big chunks. And it should only be about that long before you come over here and scrape the sides down. Sometimes I like to just get it up there so we can push it all back down into the middle. And you probably should scrape this down and repeat that process about 2 or 3 times. Okay folks, finally, after a long day of slow cooking and making changes and adjusting fire and drinking too much coffee, we're ready to plate some food. So, real simple, we have the mashed potatoes here. Made sure that they were nice and hot. Let's come down and put that into the middle of the plate. Okay. Cornbread there. Pat of butter. Give that a couple seconds to melt. Our chili is finally done. Look at that. It smells wonderful. Down there for you. Thanks everybody for another episode. Thank you, Mia, for coming on the show today. I know that you're in a different outfit than you were wearing 4 hours ago when we started this chili. But thank you so much, and everybody, make sure you stay home, stay safe, and wash those
hands.
We're just gonna dig right into this. This looks amazing. Buttery, creamy, so good. I added some cheese in here for some flair. They're sweet, they're spicy, there's still some texture left in the carrots. And my favorite part, cornbread. We'll mix it all up. Oh.
Oh, so good.